Before I start, I want to acknowledge and personally thank all of the men and women of the BART Police Department who responded to the scene last night and did an outstanding job with the preliminary investigation and handling of the crime scene at the Civic Center station. The homicide investigation resulted in an arrest of a suspect at the scene. The suspect is identified as Shane Holman, date of birth of February 6th, 1988, out of San Francisco. The suspect is currently in custody at the San Francisco County Jail. The victim has not yet been identified, pending notification of next of kin by the medical examiner. To recap, at about 8:30 last night, the suspect allegedly shot the victim at close range with the handgun on the platform at the bottom of an escalator. The victim was shot from behind. 6 BART police personnel responded within approximately 1 minute of the incident. BART Police has a full-time presence during all operating hours at the Civic Center station, what we call a fixed post. Immediately following the shooting, 2 officers assigned to ride trains and walk platforms stepped off the train, subsequently taking the suspect into custody while other responding officers began rendering first aid to the victim. Medical personnel arrived and transported the victim to the local hospital. The victim was declared deceased at approximately 10:20 p.m. Civic Center Station was closed during an initial investigation. As of this morning, the investigation continues, so I'm not able to provide much more information, but I will take a couple questions. Thank you.
Chief, I know it's preliminary. Any word, I know we can't talk to the victim, any word on motive? Has the suspect talked or has he invoked his rights? Do we have any idea of what led up to it?
We don't. As of last night, our detectives had the opportunity to interview him, and he did invoke his rights. So as of this morning, we're still trying to figure out the motive.
Chief, I know that you have touted the quick response of your officers in making a quick arrest. However, at that Civic Center BART, we have seen an increase in violence and drugs and in weapons over the past year or so. During a time when we're trying to get ridership up and encourage that, what's being done? Because that particular station seems to be having a lot of issues.
And that's part of the process is having resources there. So I committed to having two teams of officers, 2 CSOs at that station during the operating hours, which resulted in a fast response last night. And it has reduced our calls for service there to walk the stations, clear the stairwells of that type of activity to make the ride pleasurable and enjoyable for our riders. So that's a commitment that I've made to the general manager and to our riders.
And Chief, not knowing if this is targeted or random, or can you at least address any concerns? We have someone with a loaded, concealed, perhaps, a weapon chasing after a guy. Is the public at risk in this case? Could they have been at risk, or was this something targeted involving just these 2?
At this moment, it appears that it could have been targeted, but again, that's going to be all part of the investigation as we'll continue to research the video and work with other agencies to try to develop that.
Is the Civic Center open, or is it still?
It is. We opened it up at 12:30 this morning and got our ridership back to normal and reopened again today.
Now, could you go over again what your commitment is to staffing there, and whether it's different at night or how that works?
So we have 2 full-time police officers at that station specifically during all operating hours, in addition to 2 community service officers as well. And they are to walk the station, the platforms, and clear the stairwells throughout their whole time. So every minute of every hour that station is open for service, we will have a uniform presence there.
And Chief, I know you have video showing the actual homicide, correct?
That's part of the investigation, yeah. So we collected video from our platforms and from all the surrounding areas to try to get an idea of exactly what happened.
And do you have any above ground, perhaps it's SFPD-related video of the suspect chasing our victim prior to the going down, or is the chase only in the actual escalator area?
That's going to be part of the process. We're going to do a canvass of area and checking for cameras, street level, coming into our station, near our station, to see if we can find something that will help pieces together.
Before we get too far, Chief, I think you said that the suspect was born in 1988. I believe it was 1998. Is that correct?
Oh, that's correct. I apologize. 1998.
And I forget if you indicated any, I know it's pending, the ID, any approximate age of our victim.
No. Yeah, all I can tell you, he appears to be a younger African-American male.
What do we know about the gun and number of shots fired?
That's all part of the investigation. We'll do the ballistics and do all the lab work to see how many shots were actually fired, and of course the autopsy report.
And was the suspect known? That's sort of an area where there are some familiar characters.
He wasn't known to us, but he does have a criminal record, and that's all going to be part of the investigation as well.
And I'm told that this suspect may not have had proper fare. I mean, given he has more serious issues to worry about. Your thoughts about a large number of arrestees with your agency having not paid regular fare? I mean, is that a good clearinghouse, a good filter per se, or do you guys just want to take a look at the big fish, people with guns, people with violence? Or do you start at the bottom and say, hey, what are you doing about fare evading?
Yeah, I think it's collective. I think we look at everything, the underlying from as fare evasion contact to the serious crimes, right? But ultimately, my goal is to make BART the safest transit system in this country. And with that is deterring violence, right? Can we get more fare evasion contacts? Absolutely. But my goal is to make BART safe and prevent violent crime from occurring. And that's going to be reduced by having more officers out there, having more uniforms out in the system. Because I'm a firm believer that presence equals safety. So that's what I'm going to be pushing, and I'm going to continue to push.
We heard from a number of viewers who say despite all of the changes that you mentioned, that you just went over, increasing staffing, et cetera, that they're still terrified. Are there going to be more, not necessarily reactive measures, but maybe proactive measures, such as, I don't know, metal detectors, anything else? I mean, it seems like drastic measures need to be taken.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously discussed metal detectors, but, it's something that it's not going to be convenient to our riders. People are using rapid transit for a reason, to try to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. But we're always looking at ways that we could better police the system, whether it's staffing, whether it's our BART Watch app, and putting out resources, collaboratively with our partners, SFPD and people like that. So we're always looking at strategic enforcement and looking at our crime data and see where we can do a better job. But, right now, we're looking to hire as many people as we can, and that's going to equal to having more officers on the streets.
Do you have a shortage?
We do.
How severe?
I'm sorry, say it again?
How severe is the shortage?
Right now, we have 22 vacancies.
How many officers total?
Our,
Do you currently have?
we have a little over 125.
How much of the issue that happened at Civic Center BART yesterday, under KPIX 5, how much of the issue at Civic Center BART can be attributed to the problems above ground at that station?
We don't know. That's all part of the investigation. We're not sure where they originated and where they ended up or where they started their night. But we're well aware of the issues street level that bleed into our station. And our riders have made it loud and clear to us that it's a concern for them, and it's a concern of mine that we keep our station as safe as possible and continue to work with SFPD to help mitigate some of those issues that are on the street level.
Let's just do one more question, and then we'll help out CBS 5, and then the chief's got to get back to the board workshop.
Can you give us a sense of how the other stations are doing? Because it does appear that the Civic Center station has had the most issues when it comes to similar incidents.
It has, and it's because a lot of the rooted issues are above our station. But overall, collectively, our crime rate is down. Our stations are relatively safe, but we do have some stations that we could do better at. And that's that stuff that we do through our crime analysis and getting the resources out there so that we help prevent some of this stuff from happening. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.